it is hard to relax when you feel like you don't have the same privacy. And that's a big key, is being able to relax and open your body. And so what I think is so key, which is really hard as a parent, but also so important as a parent, and it can take time, like it's not something that's going to happen overnight, but start to create boundaries with your kids. And that is something that's hard to do, but over time, and as they get older, it's easier, and they have a little bit more respect for them. And depending on the age, even if it's 2 minutes, you can put your baby with some toys and let them play and say, this is mommy and daddy's time, or mommy and mommy's time, or whatever, daddy and daddy's time to spend some time together.
Oh, you don't tell your kid you're going upstairs to do the taxes?
You can say, you can say, what we tell Mimi is like, we need time to be in love. And that's one of the things that we do. And when you're in a relationship, when you're older and you have kids, you're going to want your kids to let you have that time too. And it's normal for parents to do this, and even something you can tell them, which is really hard, and it might take you some time to get there, which is, I can back up on that in a minute, but even letting them know, like if you hear noises, this is what parents do when kids are asleep. This is adult time, because it's normal for sex is a normal bodily function. It's a normal thing we all do. Normalizing sex can be such an important thing, which is challenging for many of us because we didn't grow up with that narrative. There's a lot of shame and conditioning around sex and parenting, and you cannot be a sexual woman and a mother at the same time. So we really have to work to unlearn a lot of what we've learned. I mean, even a simple way to do that is just spending some time, like what were the stories you heard coming along about sex, and what would you have liked them to be? And try to look at that as your kids grow, the more open you are with them, the more they're going to come to you with questions versus Googling and seeing things they'll never be able to unsee.
Well, sure. That's for sure.
Right.
And so I think, but it is so normal. And the more you normalize it, they might, depending on the age, right? They're not going to get it, or they will. And maybe they'll be grossed out by it, whatever. But, that's really, you can work with them on that, but really letting them know we need time to be together so we can stay in love. It's so important for parents to spend time together, because if we don't, we might not stay in love anymore. And if we're not in love, then we might not stay married. I mean, it's really important for our family,
so
for us to spend time together.
Put the keeping side of guilt on the child.
Well, baby, but not necessarily.
If you don't leave us alone, we're getting divorced.
Not in those words, but just explaining the importance of it, and why parents need to spend time together.
No, that's true. So instead of like sneaking off and trying to squeeze it in, to use the pun again, what you're saying is like when the mood strikes you, have those boundaries set up. So you're like, hey, kid, we out for a few minutes, for 7 minutes,
we always like to say we're taking a nap, because let's be honest, like at 11 p.m. at night, there's usually very little stamina left.
Yeah.
For most of us. I mean, you may be the person that nighttime is your time, but for most of us, it's like, don't touch me. I'm touched out. And plus, as moms, we get so much of our physical touch met during the day. So we get a lot of those needs met. And we don't, and it's normal for us to be like, yeah, my physical needs have been met because I've been touching my kids all day and loving my kids, and I've had all that oxytocin flowing. So I don't need any more.
That's actually a really insightful thing, because I forget that my husband doesn't get that.
Yeah.
Right. So it's something to note. There's an intimacy. I remember feeling this when I had my first baby, just being like, wow, I've never felt intimacy like this with another human besides sexual. So obviously my children and I are not sexual, but there's that amount of intimacy is really, it's stimulating in the oxytocin perspective. So then, your husband's at his office all day, or, just doesn't have the same relationship that we moms have with our kids. And there's an expectation and a need as human beings of that from us.